back, everybody. Hey, today I'm going to give an update on my Linear Tube Audio Z40 integrated amplifier. Several videos ago, I did provide a review from my perspective of this integrated amp. I've had it for about a year and a half now and have been absolutely pleased with it. I did notice recently when I was using the Phono stage, there was this slight hum happening that got much more pronounced once I got the volume up to about the halfway point, which is close to where I usually do most of my listening with this particular integrated amp. So I contacted the folks at Linear Tube Audio to try to find out, hey, is it possibly an indication that a tube has gone bad? Or might it be an indication that on the Phono stage I've got some interference in my room? When I was going online and looking at what could possibly provide that type of problem, people were mentioning Wi-Fi systems in homes, Bluetooth systems, some of the computer stuff that's in the house, or electrical interference. Everything else with the LTA was performing spectacularly, but I did have this problem. So I contacted Linear Tube Audio, threw this issue at them, and the first response back I got was, there's probably no way that a tube is causing that issue. So continued to think about doing some more troubleshooting. I was going to get an outboard Phono stage, plug it in, and see if there was still any kind of problem. But very soon after that initial email exchange went back and forth, I got a contact from Nicholas at Linear Tube Audio, who I worked with when I first purchased my integrated amp, and he said, hey, I was looking through your files here, and I do have a note that when you purchased your integrated amp, we had talked about getting it back to the shop at one point to swap out the Phono stage. And when he mentioned that, I remembered, yeah, we did talk about that, and that's something that I had not done. And now that I was starting to do more vinyl listening, I didn't want to do so with the hum that was happening because that just wasn't going to work. So I sent the integrated amp back to the shop. And what happened next is something I've never experienced before with any hi-fi audio musical instrument company. And I've worked with and have done business with so many over the years. So for starters, knowing that a year and a half after my purchase, they still knew who I was, they knew what I purchased, and they had a record of this prior correspondence that we have had about the Phono stage, because we went through a number of things regarding Phono stage desires when I was first purchasing the unit. And they let me know, hey, send us back the unit and we'll drop in our latest and greatest Phono stage into the amp. That was wonderful. I think the most difficult thing for me was it was probably close to about 2.5 to 3 weeks that I was living without my LTA. And I do have 3 other receivers in the house. I have 2 Yamahas and I have a vintage Marantz 2238. So I do have other things that I can listen to. But I'll tell you, since owning the LTA Z40, nothing else comes close in terms of an enjoyable audio experience that sounds more natural than any other unit that I've ever owned or currently own. So I had those withdrawals I had to work through while I was waiting for the unit to come back, but the unit is back. It came back. I've got it hooked up, and let me tell you a few things about this experience with Linear Tube Audio. First is when they received the amp back at the shop, they did look at the tubes and they noticed that I had a tube mismatch with one of the sets of tubes, for which they recommend that there's a matched pair. So they said, hey, when we shipped the unit out to you, you had gold lions in here. And that was one of the tubes I ended up swapping out because I did have one issue that I had to address early on. So they said, hey, we'll go ahead and replace the tube that you put in with the gold lions so you have matching tubes there. So that was a thumbs up. The next thing is I did ask them to listen to the Phono stage that was in there before they did any swap out, just so I could understand when I get my unit back, the noise that I was experiencing, was it possibly something in my room or was it something that they were hearing as well? And they did confirm that they were picking up the same hum that I was experiencing. So The good news for me is that at least when the amp comes back, when it came back, I'd have it back, that I hopefully don't have to troubleshoot any interference issues that are in this listening space that I have the amp in. The third thing that they did is they not only replaced the phono stage that was in the LTA, they did so with an improved phono stage. So what I had before was set up in such a way where they did provide me with a step-up transformer that I was able to connect to the phono stage in the back, such that if I wanted to hook up a turntable with a magnetic coil cartridge, I could do so with that. But with the STU, it required that, depending on the cartridge, I had to, get into the unit, reconfigure a whole bunch of jumpers in there. So there was some, human element that wasn't necessarily easy as just, flipping a switch on the front of a panel. The new phono stage that they offer has any configuration that you want. You're able to change with the remote control or on the menu itself. So I didn't have to go in there now and toggle jumpers. I could do that automatically. So that's a fantastic feature. And I'll tell you more about the phono stage as well. So the current phono stage that's available with the LTA Z40, and I believe this was not available at the time that I purchased mine about 1.5 years ago, built into the unit. It is configurable for either moving magnet or moving coil cartridges, all done via the menu. You can use it with a step-up transformer or not. And if you set up for an MC cartridge, then additional configuration options become available through the menu on the amplifier. So what do those include? Those include, there's an option to set the step-up transformer gain, and that option is only active if you're in MC mode. The SUT gain provides either a 20 dB setting or a 26 dB setting. Next, you have a preamp gain option, and this sets the gain of the phono stage after the step-up transformer with options of 34 dB, 42 dB, and 54 dB. Linear Tube Audio recommends that you use the lowest gain option that gives you a usable volume range. The next option that's available through the phono stage menu option is resistive load settings. Now this sets the resistive loading for MC cartridges, and the loading options change depending on the SUT gain setting. And you have numerous options to choose from for this setting that vary depending on if you set up the 20 dB or the 26 dB option in the prior setting I just mentioned. You have an option for a capacitive load setting, and this comes into play again if you're using a moving coil cartridge. And you have 3 different options to set your capacitive load. And the last option that is in the menu is phono stage without step-up transformer. So if you get the LTA Z40 and you have a phono stage that's configured without the step-up transformer, then you don't get the phono stage submenu. In that case, there's just a single menu called Phono Gain with available settings of low, medium, and high. So that's a little bit of information about the phono stage options that are available through Linear Tube Audio for the Z40 integrated amplifier. I would recommend, if you're thinking about or in the process of purchasing this integrated amplifier, or probably the Z10 or anything else that they offer that's similar from Linear Tube Audio, do have a discussion with them, talk with them about what kind of turntable you'll be using, what kind of cartridges you'll be using, and then they can give you a recommendation for the configuration of the phono stage for your unit. And that's one of the things that I've loved about this relationship with Linear Tube Audio, is that it hasn't been a scenario of, send us the money for the unit, we'll send you the unit, and then good luck to you, see you later. I've had several opportunities come up since I've purchased this that have benefited from ongoing dialogue with the folks at LTA. They've been extremely helpful, and this last experience was something that I didn't even expect them to do. So have been very, very pleased with the customer service and just that customer support that they've offered. Now, one of the surprises that came in the box with the LTA Z40 when it was returned with the new Phono stage was a new remote control. So previously, Linear Tube Audio has been shipping these Apple remote controls with their units. I liked mine, lightweight, very simple to use. I sit about, 10 feet or so from my unit in a swivel chair. So when I'm working, I just usually just kind of pick this up, hit one of the buttons, usually just for controlling volume, sometimes to select a different input. But I've been okay with this. This has been one of the features that previously in some reviews of the LTA Z40, Z10, people have complained about. I don't know. It didn't suit everybody. But it seems now that there's a new remote control. So in my box, I saw wrapped up in plastic this new remote control, which obviously is not the Apple control. And a few things about this. So one is it does look like now that they've moved on to a different option. This one is notably heavier than the Apple remote control. The Apple one is about just a little light, about as light as a feather-ish. It's very lightweight. This one is, a little heavier, a little more sturdy. And you have more direct options on this remote control. So you have at the top here, you've got a button for menu, you've got a button for mute. You have input up and down options on this side, and on the other side you have volume up and down. And then over here you've got this four-way toggle with an OK or enter button in the middle. So right off the bat, a little bit more direct, intuitive nature for the remote control. So this is another upgrade that they've made at Linear Tube Audio. So for those of you who have not been fans of the Apple remote control, know that there's an improved version. So there you go. So that's my update on Linear Tube Audio Z40, my experience with the Phono stage. I will say, I turned the unit on yesterday as soon as I got it back, plugged everything back in. The updated Phono stage that I have in here is dead quiet. It's as quiet as any of the other inputs that I have on this unit. And in that Phono stage position, toggled on this particular integrated amp, when I compare it without anything playing through it to other receivers that I have, to other external Phono stages that I've had in the house, just dead quiet. So I'm looking forward to the upcoming vinyl listening sessions that I'll be playing starting this afternoon and through the weekend. Glad to have the unit back, and just wanted to let you all know this update that I've experienced with the Z40. So for those of you, again, intrigued with this particular integrated amp, interested in stepping foot into a tube-based amplifier, this one has been spectacular. I absolutely enjoy listening to it more so than any other receiver / integrated amp that I've ever owned. And again, I'm hard pressed to think of any other audio company that has provided the level of ongoing support as I've experienced with Linear Tube Audio. If you're interested in buying an integrated amp from a quality company, a quality product, Linear Tube Audio is well worthy of consideration. Just phenomenal integrated amplifiers. If you're interested in purchasing from a company that's not going to leave you high and dry after they take your check and send you a product, at least my experience shows that Linear Tube Audio continues working with their customers well after the initial purchase, and that level of customer support has just been phenomenal. And one final note, at the time of making this video, I have no affiliate relationship whatsoever with Linear Tube Audio, so I'm just providing this as an informative update from somebody who is a fan of their products, who has purchased their products, and who really enjoys listening to the Linear Tube Audio integrated amp. So there you have it. Just wanted to provide an update on the Linear Tube Audio for those of you who are interested in or intrigued by their products. If this video was helpful to you, I really would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and come back I occasionally post videos that range from musical performances that I do to reviews of music gear and hi-fi gear. So there's always something more on the way. Thanks again for stopping by. Have a great day.